So we look at the pitch at all, what are you expecting?
It looks good. I think a standard Newlands wicket to be expected. A little bit in it for both, so I think it'll be a fair contest between bat and ball. But yeah, the similar normal Newlands wicket that you can expect.
Have you settled on 11?
Not yet. As always, when I get to you guys, you ask me this question before we get time to chat to the selector. So we've got 13 in mind. Obviously, we've got Tembo who's ready to go again. So it's obviously between him and Tennis, and then also a decision between Morna and Lungi, which one we think will be better for the conditions.
Faf, can you confirm any of those that you've sent home already or will be sending home? And obviously for a guy like Temba, the monumental aspect behind where he got his first 100
Yeah.
to obviously return, and obviously given that there's still 2 more matches.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of confidence in Temba. We know he's a high quality player, and obviously has not a lot of cricket under his belt, but the quality is there. So as you rightly say, it's a good ground for him. So he'll reflect on that confidence and just bring it back into the game. And then the change, or the guys going home, there's a few, I think. So Morris is going home, and Olivier is the 2 gone back. So then obviously, depending on the toss tomorrow, or when the toss happens, we'll send the rest of the guys back because they want to play in the 4-day games.
Have you seen the comments that Stephen Smith made earlier about the Rabada hearing, and so basically saying that he was quite surprised, first of all, not being called as a witness, but also that a new precedent has been set, and that maybe Australia would also consider appealing some decisions in future. What do you think?
I think it's really good for the game. I don't see a problem with having a fair system where a neutral guy sits and makes a decision and listens to both parties. I was there at that hearing, and I said to our people that even if we didn't win that case, that I was very impressed with the judge and how he listened to both sides, and he was very fair in the questions that he asked. So I think that process is really good. You should have a platform if you feel you've not done something wrong, where you can have someone that sits in the middle and has a fair, objective point of view of listening to both sides and then making decisions. So I think that process is really good. So I think it's fair. It's in the same in any, I think, business and stuff like that. If you feel you want to, I suppose you can call it, take them to court, there's a fair process.
But there's 3 of you in this game within 1 point of a ban now, and you're the longest serving member of that club. Is that something that hangs over your head, or do you think about it?
Yeah, I wish that I had this judge with me in Australia. But he's sitting on 1 point as well. Look, for me, it's not an issue. I don't feel like as I said, I don't push those boundaries at all. So it's not a worrying thing for me. Yeah, but there's 1 or 2 guys that it's important now they're on their best behaviour. As I said, there's always 1 or 2 guys in a team that is probably flirting with the line a bit more. So from our point of view, it's making sure that those guys are on a shorter leash, if you can keep to say that way.
But can you expand a little bit on that Morne Lungi selection in terms of what they both bring and how the conditions factor into what kind of decision you'll end up making?
Yeah, I mean, Lungi bowled really well the previous game. He's also got a little bit of a toe problem, which is probably why the consideration is happening between the 2 of them. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is bothering him. I mean, it is keeping him back a little bit. So if he's not 100%, then it's obviously a very easy decision for us. But what counts in Morne's favour is he's a very fit bowler. He can bowl long spells, and that's really important, I think, going into this Test match, especially if we have only 3 seamers and a spinner. We'll have our 3 bowlers that's got the biggest tank when it comes to bowling a lot of overs.
There's something about the Australian bowling attack. We saw what they did in the Ashes, and obviously, has that been part of the plan to sort of wear them out? We see Stark at the pass of fitnesses, Mitchell Marsh. Is that something to get them to a second new ball? They're all big, strong guys. They've been running, but to try and wear them out and.
I think, I mean, that's always the plan with no matter who you play, is to try and push them into their third and fourth spells. But certainly, if you've got a team that's got very, very good fast bowlers, and you can't run in and bowl 150 the whole day, and even 2 days if you keep coming back and coming back. So that was the thing that we did well in the second test. We pushed those bowlers to bowl longer spells to come back for more, and then it's human that you'll be 5% or 2% lower in the tank than you were initially. And then in Durban we couldn't do that, and that's why they kept firing. So definitely, if you want to beat this Australian team, you need to make sure that you push them into their reserve tanks as a bowling unit.
Faf, there's quite a bit of euphoria among the fans after the Rabada decision, and at the same time, you've all also got to keep in mind the series is still 1-1, and off-field issues aside, it's a massive test match ahead of one. Because how are you keeping the feet on the ground and keeping focus with all this excitement in the air?
I must say, in the team, it hasn't felt like it is. I know there's a big hype away from the game, but I do feel like within the team, it's not. I don't feel like it's got to the team space quite yet. The guys are still really focused and really motivated, and as you say, the series has been very good. 2 quality teams trying to compete against each other, and it's been great cricket. So it's obviously setting up nicely in Newlands 1-1. And the same thing, you know, if you look at the last 2 games, if there's an hour or hour and a half where a team slips up, the teams are so strong that they push ahead in the game.
Okay, and then Dan?
Faf, a guy like Kemba hasn't played for a couple of months, and there's obviously the sort of continuing questions and talk about Dale Steyn coming back as well. As captain, what is your view on guys coming back into the team having not played any cricket? Is that something you feel strongly about, or not much really?
I think it's different for batsmen than it is to bowlers. I know ideal world, you'd like guys to play cricket. That's the ideal world. You'd like guys to come back after injury, play 1 or 2 games, get themselves back into form, or just time in the middle. But it doesn't always work like that, you know. Not always there's games available. I mean, myself as an example, there wasn't enough time for me to play a game before the first test after my injury. So it's not always that you get an ideal world. So Temba, yes, he hasn't played cricket, but that's more for him as to the mental side of things, that he hasn't played any cricket, but he looks good in the nets. He's been looking good in the nets for a while, and his hand is now fully recovered. And I think with a bowler, you know, you got to look at the different individual. You mentioned Dale, that Dale is probably on the side now, of a little bit more cautious. He has been injured now, so for him it would probably be a little bit more important to try and get back and play a game, to get through a 4-day game at least, to see that he can bowl quite a bit of overs, and then when he gets through that, then obviously straight back into the mix.
There's been a bit of a contrast in this series between you guys have been able to keep Steve fairly quiet at the crease. You know, obviously hasn't made big runs, but also
You just am I touching wood, or are you touching wood?
from your side's perspective, AB is able to get away to quick starts and get that momentum going up quickly. I mean, what's been the key to you keeping Steve quiet, and does that change at all in these conditions relative to the first 2 tests?
No, it's the same principle. I think with all good players, you want to try and make sure that you make it as tough as possible for them, especially that first hour or first 15-20 balls. They are just a little bit better than normal players, so if you get them going quickly, they kickstart the innings very, very quickly. So for me as a captain, it's important that how we start against him. And then the previous game, I think that he was on 1 of 15 balls or something like that. So it's just about making sure you particularly concentrating when you're bowling that first few balls at him, to make him not get off to that fluent innings, to make his innings get going. But he's a very good player, so I'm sure he'd be very, very hungry for runs this test match.
Just from a point where you would think all these hearings as well, along with KD and Doc, and I mean, this was Quinton, and then it was not Rabada. And then how much strain does it put on you as a captain for you to focus on your game? We saw you climbing lions here. Is that what you do to
It does take time. I mean, that's honest reflection. It takes a lot of time, and the hearing was a lot of time. but I see that as part of my role as captain. You need to stand by your team. If you, that's your role. You got to back your players up. So I'll do that to the best of my ability. And if I can have 1% of influence on that, then great. But it's more just to show that I'm there with them. And then it's crucial that you still have try and find a couple of minutes to find your own space. I mean, but that's the challenge that all captains have. They have to balance the two of your own. As a player, you're only really focusing on your own game, and as a captain, you're focusing on 11. But I'm used to that, and I enjoy that. So there's no complaints.
Faf, you said it was a very fair hearing where you had both sides of the story. If Steve Smith didn't speak to the hearing, can you actually describe it that way?
You got to ask Steve Smith. What did he? I don't know. What did he say?
Well, I mean, he wasn't called. He wasn't asked to speak to the hearing. So in that case, both sides actually lied.
Well, he wasn't charged though. So if he was charged, probably he would have asked. But KG was charged, so it's probably just his understand. You know, he's defending himself, and then a judge has got to decide if he sees that it was intentional. You know, even nothing that I was going to say was going to have any impact on that. He didn't even listen to a word. I wasn't even needed to talk. So his pure decision was made on he's the deciding factor in if it was on purpose or not.
Yes, Colin.
Faf, on a personal level, how do you feel about your batting and what's your headspace going into the third game?
No, it's important for me to make runs. You know, forget captaincy. I always say that you need to score runs. That's the most important job for any player or for any captain or any leader. So yeah, I've been the Aussies have been keeping me quiet this series. So the same for me. Very motivated to make a big play. It's really important. As I said before the series, in order to win these games against a strong team, you need your especially your senior players to step to the party. Fortunate for me, we had other guys stepping up the previous test match in Ashim and AB and Dean. So hopefully this test it's my turn.
Have you had a meeting with the new set of match officials? If so, what was discussed, and what is your opinion of the spirit in which the matches have been played so far?
Yeah, we had a chat. Just standard stuff. Nothing different to any other match referees meeting has been in the past. How are we going to make sure that we play the best in the best spirit of the game? how does both captains see it? You know, that sort of stuff. But I said it, you know, before the second test. You're talking about isolated incidents over a long period of time. So for me, it's no different to any other series that we've played. It's been very, very competitive, and I'm proud of the way that our team has stood up against the Australian team. I mean, that's a very important thing that you have to do when you play against them. You can't allow them just to, when they're on top, bully you. So we've been really good in that matter. That we've stood our ground, and I think we're in for a cracker of a third test.
Can I get the last few?
Faf, two of your selection questions are a white player against a player of colour. In the past, you've shown that doesn't come into your reckoning too much, but now as you get closer to the period where you need to meet certain requirements, does it come into?
Look, we always, as a guy that has a say in the selection, I mean, obviously don't have a lot of say, but always strive to get that. So that will be first priority, is to try and get those balances and those targets right, and that's first priority. If there was injuries or stuff that didn't play a part in that, then obviously it's difficult to make. For instance, if Kagiso wasn't available this game, it would have been, you know, it's a different story that. But yeah, it's at the forefront. I believe that it's also my responsibility to always look and see how we can achieve that as well.
But you can make exceptions.
Yeah, definitely. There's always exceptions, and there's always horses for courses. But as I say, it's important for me to always have that in the back of my mind as well. If there's an opportunity to do it, then definitely we need to look at making sure that our team is always represented in the best way possible.
Faf, you've spoken for Elizabeth about your concerns about the inconsistencies in the whole ICC, officiating system and that, and obviously seeing what happened in Colombo on Friday. Do you think it's a good idea for the match referee to suddenly change mid-series as well?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. It's probably more, obviously more inconsistent because you're getting a different guy, but I think this, even if the match referee stayed on, there's a lot of stuff on his plate at the moment, so it's a tough gig to come into middle of the series. But it's a good question. It's very hard to answer. I still believe that's very, very inconsistent, and that's why I've got an opinion on it, and it's purely my opinion. I believe that we can get better at that as the whole cricket game. For me, it's just you shouldn't have incidents that just happening towards certain players or certain teams. It should be something that happens across all teams.
Thanks, Craig. Just if you have answers.
Afrikaans is a bit fun. Just two questions. First one, just about the selection. Squad of 13 and obviously Lungi and Morris and I think Bavuma as well.
Ja, ons het op die oomblik, ek dink is 13 spelers van ons die spankeuses is. Temba en tennis, Temba is vir 100% reg met sy hand, waar 10 dae terug was sy hand nog helemaal 100% nie, so hy is nou weer gelyk goed in die nette. So dis daai tussen daai twee spelers, en dan ook tussen Lungi en Mornay. Lungi het bietjie van 'n toonbeseer, nie besering nie, maar hy het bietjie van 'n niggle daarso, en veral as jy drie seam bowlers speel, is dit moeilik om in 'n wedstryd in te gaan met iemand wat nie 100% fix is nie. So daai besluit sal gemaak word. En dan ook gelukkig het ons iemand soos Mornay wat 'n fantastiese bowler is, en die goeie ding vir hom is hy's naby aan 300 paaltjies, so dit sal ook lekker wees as hy daai kans kan kry om dit te kan kry. Maar dit is lekker keuses vir ons om te maak. Dis nie probleme nie.
And this final, just the mood in your camp going into this test match, and obviously it must be quite boosted that having Rabada available.
Ja, dis baie ontspanne in die kamp. Die ouens is lekker gerelax, en hulle sien baie uit na die derde toets. Dis baie groot wedstryd vir altyd spanne. En ons sien baie uit na dit. En KG is 'n baie goeie besluit wat gebeur het vir ons as 'n span. Ek dink meestal omdat hy die ou is wat die meeste paaltjies in die series het. Dit is maar hy het al 'n paar batsmen 'n paar keer uitgekry. So daai goeie stel baie. As jy die ouens, hulle sal in die nette oefen, hulle sal seker maak hulle oefen presies wat hy doen, want hy het al so baie paaltjies gekry. So dis meer mentally wat hy al gedoen het aan die span. So daai is vir ons 'n groot boost.
Dankie.
Dankie.